Welcome to the garage. Hope you brought a stop loss.
Good evening, Garage Gang. Tonight's market recap is more turbocharged than a midnight street race. I'm John Christians out there working a few late night Pokemon Deals Classic garage side hustle, but I've got both hands on the wheel and the show must go on. Let's hit the gas. The U.S. Senate just slammed the NOS and passed the Genius Act, putting stablecoins in the fast lane and leaving TradFi stalled at the red light. That news lit up the straightaway. Circle stock fired up 33.8% and blazed across the line at $199.59. Coinbase dropped the clutch and jumped 16.3%, parking at $295.29. Bitcoin hit some loose gravel, spinning out down 2.1% to $104,870. Meanwhile, Tether's pit crew hit the ignition on 1 billion new USDT. That's a tank full of rocket fuel primed for the next market launch. Over on the macro, straight away, the Federal Reserve threw on the hazard lights, holding rates at 4.25 to 4.5%, with 2 more pit stops promised this year. But with Israel and Iran revving engines in the background, Wall Street's got one foot on the gas and the other tapping the brake. The Dow coasted down 0.1% to 42,171. S&P 500 barely shifted gears, finishing at 5,980. And the NASDAQ rolled forward a sluggish 0.1%. That's less movement than a station wagon in neutral. Down in the degen trenches, the Garage Gang went full send. Solana's Gorbagana tore up the strip, blasting 11,754% gains in just 4 hours. Warplet on base ripped 1,052% with volume flying past $148 million. But watch your grip, liquidity is thinner than my hair after a double shift. Meme coin season is hot, but if you miss the breaks thin, LP will leave your portfolio up on Block's rug. Pulls on Ethereum and BNB stripped over 80% of liquidity tonight. Talk about a bad spin out while retail spun their tires. Whales rolled up like pros. $4.5 million loaded into bases, arrows smooth as a Daytona pit. Stop. That's not just a hunch, that's experience behind the wheel. AI tried to race tonight too. Guidehouse dropped $1.5 billion on the dash, and Nvidia inched up 0.94% to $145.48. But let's be honest, Garage Gang tonight, crypto was the only engine redlining. Here's the final tune-up. The Senate just threw stablecoins into the express lane. TradFi's idling on the shoulder. Macros stalling out any headline from Israel or Iran could spin this market sideways. Meme coins are drifting hard, but if you're not careful, that thin liquidity will wreck your ride. Whales are stacking Bitcoin and Ethereum like champions, and the Garage Gang sees every move before the rest of the market even finds the map. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. Okay, Lulu, it's the time everyone's tuned in for. TA from the favorite chart reading pig in the garage. Floor is yours.
This is Lulu, and you know I am just a pig, so please do not take this as financial advice. But let's roll in the mud and check out these charts. Starting with Bitcoin on the 1-minute and 15-minute charts, price is sliding into the pit stop around 104,800 with lots of quick sprints and sudden stops. There's some strong support right at 104,800. But if we lose that grip, I'd be watching for the next pit at 104,400. If the bulls find some horsepower and break above resistance around 105,100, then the next roadblock is 105,300. On the 15-minute chart, those lower highs look like the bulls are easing up on the gas. For Ethereum, it's bouncing around 2,520 with solid support there, but every time it tries to rip past 2,540, it gets sent back to the barn. If we see real momentum and clear that hurdle, the next stop is 2,570. But if things break down, look for support. Right at 2,500, Solana is drifting sideways between 145 and 148. If the bulls can punch through 148, that's a green light, but there's a lot of exhaust in that range. If it breaks down, you'll see support around 144. Cardano is revving its engine at about 60 cents. If it can push higher, look for a move towards 62 cents, but if it loses traction, support is down at 60 cents even. It wants to race, but keeps stalling out right at the start line. Now for my favorite Moonpig. You know I have a crush on this one, but tonight it's a wild ride. Price just slammed into the wall at 1 cent and is cooling off just under that. On both charts, trend is still sloping down, and this pig wants to see more before diving in. If buyers get back in the saddle, I'd look for resistance at 1 cent. But if we break down, support is coming up at about 1 cent below that. I love Moonpig, but even this pig waits for the trend to turn. So there's your piggy TA from Lulu. Remember, this is not financial advice. I am just a pig with a passion for charts. Stay sharp out there. Garage Gang. Sometimes the smartest move is to watch from the pen and wait for a cleaner track, oink oink, back to you.